Hey, you could feel the heat out there. Want to show you what's going on just north of us. We've got some severe weather happening. There's a live look at our first alert tower cam at this time. As we go to our graphics system, though, I want to show you the radar, and we're tracking storms that are happening in areas to the north over parts of Tennessee. If we can take our graphics source back in the control room, there we go. You can see here to the north. I want to show you these storms because I know this is north of Alabama, but this is happening now. We've had tornado emergencies south of Nashville, some intense lightning and a lot of rotation in here. Right now we could still have a tornado producing damage, and this is tracking closer to places like Murfreesboro. So if you have connections in that part of the country, you certainly want to text, call, message, make sure folks here are weather alert on what's moving in. It has been very active back to the north. There's the loop over the past hour, and you can see that very strong rotation, which actually we're scanning this far away from the radar site, so we're picking up some of that rotation, but that was a tornado emergency that was declared there just south of Nashville. But for us right now, you look out the window and we've got some sunshine. It's like mid-July. We've had temperatures rising into the 80s, a heat index touching 100 in some areas today. It's hot, it's tropical, it's steamy. A couple of isolated showers out there today, but not a lot happening right now. And I know we have a tornado watch that has been issued for Coleman County until 11 o'clock tonight, and we've declared that first alert weather day tomorrow, but really not a lot of changes in our thinking based on what we've been talking about the past couple days. Tonight there's a chance that one of these storms to the north may try to sneak in to our far northern areas. If that happens, can't rule out a severe storm like last night when we saw it to the far north. So let's just stay alert. Places to the north, I think Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, over to Pell City, Anniston Point south. The risk for seeing severe weather between now and midnight is on the low end of the scale. Now, once we get into tomorrow morning, after about 4 o'clock in the morning, and this is going to impact the morning drive, all this is going to start sliding southward, and that's going to start happening early tomorrow. Some models show this greatly weakening as it moves further south. But as you can see with this model, it shows some of those storms maintaining their intensity. And the thing is, we really don't cool off a lot tonight, so it's going to be there's going to be some energy in the atmosphere to help defeat some of these thunderstorms. And there could be some gusty winds, isolated tornado threat, but certainly an active start to the day and an impactful start to the day tomorrow. That's why I've declared a first alert weather day. So make sure tomorrow morning you check in with us right here. We'll have frequent updates throughout the morning, watching the radar as those storms move in. Hopefully they weaken, but we are going to have some heavy rain and some impacts. All right, after that, the big question, we'll catch kind of a calm in the activity, and then later in the day, as the temperatures rebound, the atmosphere sort of recharges, we could see another round and the possibility of some redevelopment. You see that scattered storms tomorrow evening, so we'll have to watch out there. But what's probably going to happen, we might actually see that greatest risk. It could actually set up further south there tomorrow evening. So we need to watch how things kind of play out tomorrow. That's going to tell us a lot about how things kind of evolve for tomorrow night. But just stay alert here next couple of days. We'll get through this by the weekend. We'll have some big improvements, but that AM severe threat tomorrow. And again, a tornado risk is included, so we can't totally rule that out, and we'll be keeping you well informed.
Well, check out this footage of a tornado that touched down in Robertson County, Tennessee. This is from our sister station, WSMV. A tree fell on a home during that storm that produced this tornado, and severe thunderstorm warnings continue in this area throughout the evening. And as the multi-day severe weather outbreak continues, Michigan receiving significant damage to communities after powerful thunderstorms move through on Tuesday. Check out this video from Savannah Fallon Draper on Facebook as the Portage tornado moved through yesterday evening. The sheriff's office saying sirens did sound ahead of the storm and that residents were weather aware, which helped save lives. A second tornado warning was issued for the city about an hour later. This tornado sparked the state's first tornado emergency in its history. And that same tornado also leaving major damage to a FedEx facility in Portage. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries, and across the state in Kalamazoo, at least 176 homes were damaged and up to 20 injuries were reported. But again, none of the injuries were significant after they arrived to the hospital.
But back here at home, as we continue to talk about Air Quality Awareness Week, there's been several topics we've been focusing on each day, but you see these air quality alerts all the time right here from the First Alert Weather Team. But how is that data gathered? How are those warnings created? Well, right now, we'll take you through the process. Air quality alerts are issued for our area. The dangers are very real.
You know, a lot of times when we have poor air quality, especially with ozone, it's a colorless gas. So you don't know how much is in the air unless, we're reporting on it from the health department.
Matt Lakey, an air pollution meteorologist with the Jefferson County Department of Health, stresses higher ozone concentrations and fine particulate matter in our air can be very harmful to those with lung ailments, especially for children and older adults.
Children would have issues because, their lungs are still developing and can't process the ozone as well, and it would damage their lungs and, the growth of those lungs.
And for older adults, there are issues like COPD. So to evaluate air pollution levels, monitors are set up across the entire county, mainly in areas where the higher concentrations of air pollution are found, such as industrial areas and heavy traffic locations.
Yeah, so we have a combination of both manual and continuous samplers here at this site and all of our other sites as well that are measuring both particulates and gas pollutants as well.
Okay, so what all's involved here with you said swapping out filters? Is that for measuring the particulates?
Yeah, so we have these small little tiny filters that we run on a 24-hour basis, and these run every 3 days at our stations throughout Jefferson County.
These filters are used to check the levels of fine particulate matter. Matt says the staff comes out to check the results every 3 days and first downloads the data from the measuring device into a laptop.
Now we're going to remove the filter. As we do that, we pull it off, making sure that it doesn't touch anything, and we put that filter in this package.
Information like how long the filter ran, the volume of the filter, and even weather data is recorded, and the filter is placed into a package and sent to a lab for further analysis. Afterwards, a new filter is placed in the monitoring device for the next round of testing. It's a delicate and dedicated process, also a very dependable process with incredible accuracy.
Yeah, so we also have to take in consideration smoke from fireworks on the 4th of July. Almost every year we see massive spikes at, I would say, at least half, if not all of our stations. You get like this massive spike in the graph, and it's unreal the amount of smoke that's put out by those.
It's valuable information collected in our own backyard daily to ensure the air we breathe is safe and always being monitored. And Matt Lakey does a great job there issuing those air quality alerts, but it's incredible the technology, the sensors that we have around this area to help monitor the air quality. But as the Awareness Week continues, there are some changes being made to the thresholds in which some of those alerts are being issued, and we'll talk about that tomorrow night as we continue our special series. But we'll be right back right now because we've got a First Alert Weather Day tomorrow for storms. We'll show you what we're tracking.
Let's take a quick look at storms moving across Tennessee. This is hail falling in Clarksville, Tennessee, right at the Kentucky state line. Some of the hail, golf ball sized, huge there. I mean, look at that in his hand. Luckily for us right now, we're still looking mainly quiet. Only a few isolated showers we saw earlier, looking mostly dry as of right now. That tornado watch still in effect until 11 p.m. for Coleman County, but here's a quick look on how it feels outside. So if you have plans this evening, it still feels very hot, humid, very muggy outside, feeling like the low 90s in Jefferson County, but feels like temperatures at 97 degrees in Green. So very warm conditions for your evening. Here's a look at that evening hourly forecast. We'll still hold on to that limited chance for an isolated shower or storm throughout your evening hours. But notice that temperatures are going to stay warm even through late tonight, 9 p.m., only hitting the low 80s. And we actually don't have very low overnight temperatures either. We're talking 70s, and all of that humid, muggy air is the reason and the cause for us to see strong and even possible severe storms early tomorrow morning. Wes will have a full look and breakdown on that, but continue continuing with Hurricane Preparedness Week. Meteorologist Matt Daniel joins us now with an in-depth explanation on how hurricanes are forecasted and the scale used to classify them.
Well, this week, as you know, we've been talking about it over the past couple of days, is National Hurricane Preparedness Week, and we are less than a month away until the hurricane season begins on June 1st, and it is forecast to become very active. So what is it about hurricane preparedness? Yes, we are farther inland, and we don't have to actually worry too much about the hurricane hitting us directly, but there's also other impacts for us: heavy rain, wind, and even an isolated tornado. But when it comes to preparedness, always important to rely on official forecast. Don't go on social media and find Joe, who is a tropical expert, has no expertise, and just follow him. Make sure you follow official sources. For instance, the National Hurricane Center, local National Weather Service offices like the one here in Birmingham, and of course us on TV. We're the ones that are going to keep you informed and let you know what to expect. Know your alerts and the difference between a watch and a warning. A watch, you've got plenty of time to prepare. And for instance, when it comes to hurricanes, you might have several days to prepare. And that allows you to evacuate, especially along the coast. Warning means it's likely going to happen, so just be aware of that. Focus on the potential impacts regardless of the storm size or strength. I know a lot of people focus on, oh, it was a Category 3, or oh, it's not a big deal, it's just a Cat 2. There's a lot more to a hurricane than the actual category strength itself. And then, of course, understand that impacts can occur outside that forecast cone. What do I mean by that? This is just an example of some storms we were tracking last year. At the time, it was Tropical Depression 13. We were watching this. And this is the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. And they give you a timeline from, for instance, this is showing like at 10 o'clock Tuesday to Thursday to Saturday. And notice how it shows it intensifying into a major hurricane. Well, everyone focuses within that cone as if that's where the impacts are going to be. But these storms, hurricanes, tropical systems, they're large, hundreds of miles wide, and impacts can also occur outside of that cone. So this is mainly looking at where the center is going to go, but there's a lot more to a hurricane. So if you're anywhere near the cone or right outside the cone, you could still get some impacts from tropical systems. So I know a lot of people want to focus on the center, but the storm could track within this outer line or on this side, and the storm itself can spread impacts even farther outward. Speaking of the strength and intensity, the Saffir-Simpson scale is really just based on wind. It has nothing to do with the storm surge. It has nothing to do with the heavy rain potential or the movement of the storm. So obviously a Category 1 has to have winds greater than 74. When winds go up to 96 or above, it's a Cat 2. When winds become 111 or greater, it becomes a major hurricane. And of course, 4 and 5s are a little rare, and they can all occur and produce catastrophic damage. So once again, these are based off winds, but when it comes to tropical systems, if they slow down, stall, rain, storm surge can be even a bigger concern than the wind itself. Because remember, when it comes to tropical systems, when they make landfall, they start losing their strength and those wind speeds begin to go down. So hurricane toolkits, very important, especially for those that are vulnerable along the coastline. But it's always important to have a safety kit, and this can apply for even us. You know, it's always good to have extra batteries in your kit, a little bit of food, pet supplies, your medicine, first aid kits, personal documents, medications, and of course water, and maybe even some cash, because you have to remember, if you lose power, you can't use your credit card. So just mindful of being prepared for the upcoming hurricane season. We'll have more details coming up this week.
Thanks, Matt. And one of the most powerful parts of a hurricane can be the water. You'll often hear meteorologists say during hurricane season, you can run from the wind, but you want to hide from the water, because as we look at the different elements that make up weather, water is one of the most powerful. And I want to show you across the U.S., when you look at 30-year averages of weather fatalities, what is the most responsible? Well, heat deaths account for 176 people on average. But then next in line is flooding. And if you look at actual hurricanes, as Matt was just mentioning, about 48 people on average when you look at that 30-year average. But flooding is the second cause right behind heat. And as we look forward in time and watch closely any climate trends going forward, we want to watch the potential for more flooding. Sometimes that can come from hurricanes, or it can come from just plain old weather systems. And we're not just talking about coastal flooding. You talk about storm surge a lot with hurricanes, but inland flooding is expected to change. You could see more floods, and in some spots, that's where you get more intense rainfall. When you have a warming climate, warm air holds more moisture. So if warm air can hold more water vapor and the earth is warming, then we could see more intense rainfall. And unfortunately, if you have a warming climate, sometimes that can exacerbate drier areas where you could have dry soils, which could lead to longer droughts. And then possibly, if you don't have enough moisture in the wintertime because it doesn't get cold enough, then you could see less snow melt. So as we look at the average annual cost of flood loss across the U.S., it's $32 billion. But what if we were to look ahead in time and see what those impacts of extreme flooding could have on places like Alabama? The Southeast is one of the areas that is most vulnerable to climate change and the potential for extreme flooding. And flooding specifically can have an effect on racial minorities in the Southeast because they don't have as much access to those barriers that you would get to get federal assistance. So we could see an increase in that in Alabama by 26% in 2050. So we'll always be covering climate change on Weather Extra, and don't go anywhere. We'll have more updates on our First Alert Weather Day coming up after the break.
Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. What a few weeks here with severe weather happening across the country. If you notice on our screen, we do have a tornado watch that's on the maps in the corner of the screen. It's one county. It's Coleman County until 11 o'clock tonight. The Coleman County is covered by the National Weather Service in Huntsville, so they've got a watch box there across North Alabama for tonight. I still think far northern areas, pretty much along north of the 278 corridor. If a storm sneaks in this evening, we need to watch it in case it tries to go severe, just like what we saw last night, some of those storms to the far north. But most of us will be in good shape for this evening. So if you have plans, it's just warm, it's steamy out there, not a lot happening at the moment. But I still think tomorrow morning, as we've been talking about all week, that line of storms is going to drop in. Looks like this moves in after 3 o'clock in the morning, north to south. Will it weaken? Will it maintain intensity? Well, there's a chance that those storms could maintain some severity as they move south. We see that a lot in the month of May and June, so we got to watch out for that early tomorrow morning. Definitely some heavy rain, some storm impacts for your morning drive. That's why we have declared a first alert weather day. But we do need to watch for the risk of severe storms capable of not only damaging straight line winds. I still think an isolated tornado threat is also there for the morning as well. But we'll catch a break from the storms for the early afternoon at least. I think after about 3 or 4 o'clock, though, we could start to see some storms pop up, because here's the thing, the models are telling us we really don't cool off a lot tomorrow, and we have a cold front moving in tomorrow night, so it's still kind of steamy as we go into the evening. So we need to watch out for maybe another round there into Thursday evening. So that's why we're talking about these multiple windows here where we could have strong to severe storms. Well, if you've been staying with us here, we've been monitoring a lot of severe weather happening over Tennessee. Earlier saw a rare tornado emergency south of Nashville. Now still tornado warnings still in effect for places like Murfreesboro, but you can see our system detecting all that rotation. Those storms are still well north of Alabama. And in fact, for folks in places like Huntsville, we're streaming right now online, so we have a lot of folks that watch us here, even to the north. The severe storms are now north of the state of Alabama. But the model data is telling us that this evening some of those storms may try to sneak in to the far north, but not a lot happening at the moment. It's still hot, though. We were talking about this earlier, just how hot it feels out there. It's almost like midsummer. Last night at 10 o'clock, it was still 81 degrees in Birmingham. Just incredible. And that's the kind of steamy weather that we're going to deal with tonight. We had heat index levels close to 100 for today. As we move through the overnight, though, there's midnight. You can see that possibility of some storms north, and then as we get into the early morning, those storms start to drop to the south there. You see around 6 o'clock in the morning, and check in with us in the morning. Expect those drive time impacts, and then we'll be watching later in the day. We catch that break, and again, we could be seeing those showers and storms coming back there later on in the day. Weekend still looks incredible. We've got some sunshine coming up, highs around 80, so some nice weather. All this is going to move out during the early morning hours on Friday. But as you can see behind me, our first alert weather calendar. Tania, we need to watch next week. It still looks like a stormy pattern, especially Tuesday.
Yeah, Wes, Tuesday is the day that we could even see a possible strong storm in our forecast. We'll continue to update you on that. That's May the 14th, so make sure you're checking in with updates throughout the weekend. But notice that next week, almost every single day of your work week, there is that possibility for a storm in the forecast. The good news is next weekend, the 18th and the 19th, we're looking dry again, but then we have another chance for storms around by Wednesday, May 22nd. Don't go anywhere. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra. We'll be right back, though, after the break.
Well, before we wrap up this evening, today was also the annual Pelham in the Park event hosted by the Pelham City Schools English as a Second Language Department. Meteorologist Shinty Rodriguez was a special guest alongside the National Weather Service in Birmingham. They were able to provide safety info in both English and in Spanish, as well as what to do before, during, and after severe storms. Such a beneficial event for our community.
Right, and certainly timed that out perfectly. First Alert Weather Day coming up for tomorrow. So a lot to talk about tonight, and we'll see you back here at 9 o'clock.
Have a good evening.
Right. Cyber attack.
Yes, I do. Oh, let me see. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. All right, I'm ready. In 3, 2. Hey there, everyone. First Alert meteorologist Tania Michelle here with that 7-day forecast. A First Alert weather day in effect for Thursday, mainly through your Thursday morning, but there is another round of strong showers and storms in our forecast overnight. Ooh, redo. Sorry.